everybody, and welcome to the Fortress of Comic News, episode 163. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside, may the force be with him, Mike.
Happy May 4th, everybody. May the 4th be with you. A lot of things can be canceled during this whole coronavirus bullcrap. We don't want to talk too much about that, but May 4th cannot because it's a date and it's all about Star Wars. And we hope you are all enjoying it and listening to the podcast, of course, because we're the best. And also, we got something else to celebrate today, Chris.
We do. So I was really worried there at the end of the Kickstarter. I lost like 2 years off my life. But it looks like the magic of Fortress Comic News worked, and Battle Monsters #1 is completely funded.
Yes.
Thank you. And I also, on the second to last update, showed the image for what is going to be Fortress Comics.
Oh yeah, Fortress Comics.
So we have our little imprint now where, for now, it's going to be my comics, but we'll see where it goes from there. But we got a cool little imprint to play with.
Yeah, it's really cool. Fortress Comics, man.
And you can get shirts and all that shit on our TeePublic. You can get masks on our TeePublic with that logo, with the Fortress Comic News logo, whatever you want.
Cool stuff. But also today we got a special guest on the show. We want to celebrate that as well. Yes. Zach Howard. If you can see my background, Wild Blue Yonder, artist creator for that. Lots of stuff to talk about with him. He's worked in DC, Marvel. He's doing the Hellboy book right now. So fantastic interview coming up with him. Can't wait to have him back on the show. We got some cool ideas we've been running by him. Maybe some fan stuff like that. So stick around to hear that also. Well, let's not keep the people waiting any longer. Let's jump right into the news, Chris. So TV news. Marvel Entertainment announces a new digital series for their YouTube channel. Marvel Presents the World's Greatest Book Club, hosted by Paul Scheer. Hey, represent.
Former guest of the show.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. This series will be 6 episodes released weekly, so that's pretty cool. I wonder what he's going to be talking about. Probably Marvel books, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. But cool idea, especially for something to do on YouTube, to just kind of have a book club and chat about different books throughout Marvel's history.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, they're doing something. Well, they can't really distribute much right now, but that's cool. There's so many iconic stories that people need to know about Marvel and DC. They also announced a new podcast series, Black Widow Bad Blood. The series will be an audio drama, much like previous podcasts featuring Wolverine. Sarah Nadochenny will be narrating the show, so that's pretty cool. That's like those old school radio shows with like Superman or like Orphan Annie. Yeah.
They can be really cool too because I remember Halo did one before Halo 4 as like a lead into it, and it was infinitely better than the game. But
wow,
they can really suck you in, especially if they do like the tight 10 to 15 minute windows, and they're done really well. So I'm super excited. And Sarah being the narrator. I mean, Ash Ketchum narrating. Let's do it.
That's pretty cool. What have you been watching lately for TV? Anything exciting?
Most recent episode of Clone Wars came out. It was after, so they caught Maul and they brought him up the ship. They're taking him back, and then Order 66 is initiated. Oh, no. So it's during that period, and Ahsoka has to fight her way through. She ends up helping Maul get loose as a distraction while she tries to fix one of the clone troopers because they have that nano chip in them that forced them to execute Order 66. Mm-hmm. And then, so it was kind of a cool, this is what Ahsoka was doing during 66, and this is what Maul was doing, and it's leading up to today's big conclusion, which, as we're recording, it isn't really May the 4th, but the last episode's coming out, so I'm really excited about that. And then, it's something old, but it just popped on Netflix. I think it was FX that did it. Limited series about Waco.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Mm-hmm.
and it's all acted out. The FBI guy is General Zod from Man of Steel.
Oh yeah,
Supergirl's in it. The guy
Shannon.
who plays John Carter's in it. Like, there's some big names in it, and it's just a very interesting story that I did some research on. It's actually one of the guys that escaped helped narrate or helped mold the show, as well as the actual FBI negotiator that was working on the other side. So there's actually people on both sides that are helping, like, with the authenticity of it. And it's just a great series of, like, an event we all have an opinion on and that we've all seen happen. And we get the realm of both sides where, like, both sides were right and both sides were wrong. And this is what happens when communication stops and we just throw a gun in each other's face.
Yep.
I really loved it, and I suggest that everybody watch it because it's really well done.
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from that conversation about the guns and the communication, but I do want to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that is what the show is about. We don't have to get into it, but that is what the show is about, and it really, when you watch it with that lens, it helps with seeing the narrative as it goes through.
I finished Castlevania season 3, which was pretty crazy. It's a good show for an animated series. There's, I don't know, you kind of like the characters and where they're going, and the end kind of, there's this talks of like a multiverse almost. It gets pretty funky at the end. Some cool characters that come along, some really dark and twisted stuff, like they throw you on this loop for like the head of the town where the two main characters are staying, that are like, they're trying to help towns with their demon problem pretty much. Come to find out, like, the head of the town that they were working for, that they thought was like the good in all of the story, come to find out, like, he has a secret room in his home where he was like killing children and like keeping their clothes. It was really messed up at the end. I was like, holy shit, like, nobody is good in this show. So it's really well written. Like I've talked about before, I'm still doing the Clone Wars thing, still on season 1. And then I started Letterkenny because I keep hearing about how hilarious that show is, and it's pretty damn funny. I don't know what they're saying half the time because it's crazy Canadian lingo, but it's a hoot, that's for sure. Yeah, so let's jump into the movie news here. Josh Cooley, director of Toy Story 4, has signed on to direct an animated prequel to Paramount's Transformers movie series, and nobody really knows the continuity of those movies, so don't ask. This movie is set on Cybertron and centers around Optimus Prime and Megatron, so it sounds like it's the origin for these two. And I mean, the latest one was it didn't even focus on these guys; it focused on Bumblebee. So I guess we'll see where all this falls into place, and maybe they're going to try to have this as like a reset for the entire movie series. I don't know.
It's a cool idea, though.
Yeah,
I think that Transformers perform better on Cybertron than they do on Earth, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And this could actually get me excited to see something Transformers in the theater.
Yeah. And as far as movies that I've watched, I watched The Extraction on Netflix, with written by the Russo brothers, with Thor. That was really good. Really good in the sense, I don't know what the hell the plot was, but there was really good fight scenes, and everybody's talking about that like 15-minute long single take action sequence. And yeah, it's just it's a John Wick of a movie, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't go in for the story, you go in for the punchy shooty stuff. And I thought it was good for Netflix, right? It's awesome to have something released on a Friday. It's right at your fingertips. You watch it when you need to, when you want to, and I thought the production quality is fairly good. Have you watched anything?
No. Waco took up like 7 to 8 hours, and then
that's quite a bit of time.
and then watching like just sitcoms while I go to bed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Plus, I got the Final Fantasy VII remake, so that's been like my life outside of comics recently.
I actually, video game talk really quick. Streets of Rage 4 came out this Friday.
I really want to get that.
And can I tell you, I've been talking to my sister about it. My sister and I grew up playing Sega Genesis, Streets of Rage 1 and 2. Streets of Rage 3, I believe, was only on Famicom. Super Famicom was a Japanese release that I have played because I'm a huge fan. But just like playing through the levels with some people and like reliving the soundtracks and the characters. It's awesome. It's very nostalgic, but it's got a new animation style to it. It's awesome. I've had so much fun with it. And for an indie, I love playing indie games. So and you can buy it on PC, you can buy it on Switch, so it's available pretty much everywhere. But that's where I've been devoting most of my time. But yeah, let's head over this awesome interview we have with Zach Howard, and we'll see everybody on the other side.
Welcome back, everybody. Want to welcome to the show, Mr. Zach Howard. Welcome to the show, Zach.
Hello. You got it this time. Congrats.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's almost like I don't know if he's shy or just like nervous, but man, I'm excited for this interview today. So thanks for being on the show. Man, where do we even start? We'll start with the origin story, Zach. I know you've done quite a bit, and we want to talk about some of that, but what was your origin story for comics? When did you pick up a comic and you said, hey, I want to do this for a living?
I guess I'll quickly go over the obtuse landscape of getting into comics. I was on military bases in Germany as a kid, and at the shopettes they started getting the Conan magazine when it first came out.
Yep.
That dates me a little bit. And fell in love with that. I was there from the get-go on that one. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, like on year 2 or 3, they had like 3-pack Marvels where you get like Spider-Man, X-Men, and then one throwaway thing like Thunderbolts one-shot or something like that you'd never heard of. But you loved it. Is all you had. Mom gave away all those. Jumped 2 years later. I think I was in 8th or 9th grade. Buddy came over with, I believe it was X-Men 259, where Wolverine was being crucified. And Mark Silvestri, I believe. And it just blew my mind. And so then I think Wolverine just started coming out at that point in time, and it was a great time for comics. Frank Miller was on fire. The British invasion was happening. So you just had endless amounts of comics to read that were good and fun.
So were you drawing at that point, or?
Yeah, growing up, kind of an isolated kid. It was a lot of just reading Dragonlance books and drawing robots and shit like that. Nothing really deliberate, just doodling, and trying to mimic like the Monster Manual drawings and stuff like that. And I didn't get serious again until probably about high school. And that's when I was really like, I want to do this for a living. You realize you can draw a little bit better than your friends and stuff like that. So young man cockiness that you kind of need to go do stupid quests in life. That's where that seed was planted, So, but life went off track, moving a lot. I failed out of college my first year and joined the Marines. And then when I got out of the Marines, went back to college and actually became a potter. And I was kind of out of comics. And during my thesis year, I was getting, I think it was in my final thesis stretch, one of my portfolio guys was teaching illustration. His name was Tom Biondolillo, and hung out with a lot of the Gaijin Atlanta crew and stuff like that. But he taught at the university there, or SCAD, or at some point in time, and he had done some Aliens versus Predator. And I'd never met anybody that had done anything really, so it was awesome. I had to take an illustration class to get my degrees, like that or watercolor. And I was like, shit, I've always wanted to draw comics. I'll go meet this guy. And he dragged me along to MegaCon, like 99 or some 2000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And sat me at a table. It was like him and his like pro crew, where in reality they're, just trying to break in. But then they put us scrubs at like the end of the crew tables and stuff like that. And it was funny. It was Sanford Green and then myself, first show, sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
And we had a pretty good time. It's a pretty good chuckle because out of all that entire crew, it was Sanford Green and I that went on to make careers of this stuff. But yeah, I switched gears and stopped sculpting, and my wife basically allowed me to be unemployed for about 2.5 years. I worked for gaming manuals, but I was only making like $6,000 a year type paperboy money.
Yeah.
But I just had to learn how to draw because I'd been sculpting for so long, and it took about 2.5 years. But then I landed the Hellboy resource manual, which I did a 5-page comic in that and some spot illustrations, because I was one of 2 wannabe comic book artists at Steve Jackson Games. So we kind of got the job by default, and and then that launched my Image books, and then went on, did Batman, and then Shaun of the Dead, and then who knows else? Create Own, Spider-Man, whatever you can think of.
You've done so many different, DC, Marvel, Image. You've been at so many different publishers and so many different fandoms. Like, what are some of the crazy stories you have coming out of those fandoms? Like, was there a lot of pressure when you were doing Batman or any of those?
Oh, of course, because I'm green, man. I was 4 years in. I'm 20-nothing. You're just kind of faking it. You're just happy to be there, and you're working hard, but you don't know anything yet. Mm-hmm. And I kind of became disillusioned because I'm kind of a hopeless romantic as an artist, and you get to places like that, and it's a business. And more people need to make money and hammer checks and things like that. And I still think I had, that poet in my soul, and I wanted to tell great stories, not just do my job. And I had a lot of trouble at first working in that system. I have trouble being a spoke in a wheel. I always have been. It just makes me itchy. And some people do great. Sorry, keep interrupting you. Go.
It's okay. No, it just brought me an idea of like a question here of, so when you're working on a project like Batman or something, there's definitely more restrictions than Wild Blue Yonder or something like that, right?
I have no restrictions on Wild Blue. That's just whatever the hell Mike and I want to think of.
Okay.
So
let's talk about that then. I mean, that was a huge hit when it came out. And that was it was up for an Eisner as well, right?
Nelson Daniel was. We got. I don't know if we got. There was one Indie Award it was up for. I don't think it was an Eisner. Nelson Daniel, the colorist, got nominated for Wild Blue. My Eisner nod came from the original Cape one shot with Joe Hill.
Okay.
So, but Wild Blue couldn't have done better. It was Amazon top 10 book of the month for 1 month. It had a lot of accolades. The hardcover sold out twice. Each issue sold out 3 times. So we did well. And, I learned a lot about Hollywood, and that said, broken record and all that stuff. So while I learned more creating, struggling with, and then ultimately selling Wild Blue Yonder than probably the rest of my career combined.
Was it optioned at one point? Or?
Oh, yeah, by Intel.
Okay.
For this kind of like augmented 3D VR technology that was being built into computers. But by the time it was done, the time the technology was done and being released, it was almost defunct because VR was coming out in like PlayStation and stuff. And this is just shitty augmented reality on a laptop, So it was basically you're selling cotton gins, you know?
Yeah, right.
But we repurposed everything. We were smart in our contract. So once that got fizzled out, and it was great, we made money from it, the production of it, but we got to animate everything, and we still had all the original VO with like Ed Harris and all the cool actors that we had in it. Gerard Butler just stole the show.
Really?
You can still download it. I believe you can still download it from Apple app. The first chapter for free. So the first 15 minutes. I don't get any money, guys. So don't even worry about that. But we were even when that basically we repurposed the whole thing as like a playable animation on the Apple app. So your phone basically, the gyroscopes in your phone, you could move the art around and stuff while the animation's playing. Like look around somebody's head, and so it was a lot of fun. I couldn't believe the actors and actresses that were on it. I learned a shit ton. I art directed the 2D art build, but I had nothing to do with the actual animation of it. Those just weird nerds doing their thing. Some things are great, some aren't, but overall, I couldn't be more just proud to be part of that project.
Now, was that Harris the villain?
No, he was Big Cola, Cola's dad.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Wow. That's a good casting, I think.
Yeah, Gerard Butler was Scram and just stole the show.
Yeah.
We had to. He didn't have time to have a acting coach for the English accent he wanted, and this is we're rubbing nickels together for a budget as far as a real budget is concerned. Though for comic book money, it puts stars in your eyes. For a movie budget, it's laughable. Yeah. So, anyways, we just made this big character has a Scottish accent, so Mike and I had to change his backstory. It worked, but that's part of production. You hit a boulder in the way. You got to be water. You got to get around it, man.
You got to ride around it somehow.
Yeah. So, and that's what I mean by Wild Blue Yonder. Every step was a learning process, both good and bad, and so yeah. Love that project.
I mean, that was so successful as just a one-shot trade or 6 issues.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever see yourselves going back to that universe at all? Or?
Well, we sold it, so and I had to sign an NDA and all that stuff. So the project I did with Common, this, and then something I never quite was able to produce for a multitude of reasons, but was in the hopper. Story about a rabbit called Buck, which I did a poster for that was popular for whatever reason. But I sold all those IPs.
Oh, okay.
And basically, all my shares in Noble Transmission, the company behind that entertainment company behind everything. So that being said, we're getting the gang back together. So Mike Rach, Nelson Daniel, and myself already have another basically 5-6 issue thing in the work. Another original graphic novel.
All right. Well, that's I like to hear that. So we'll probably have you back when we get some more details.
It's an ocean one this time. It's about a floating city in the future, in the middle North Pacific. So
Waterworld adaptation.
Yes.
Good.
World.
I think it's just the right amount of time. I mean, that hasn't been done in a while, so I think it's due for another post-apocalyptic flooded Earth.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Now it's not a water Earth. It's just the city that takes place in the ocean.
Oh, okay.
But trust me, it's a fun one. But yeah, that's all I'm doing now. So, but that crew is getting back together that made Wild Blue Yonder. The comic book talent of it.
Yeah.
Shall we say?
Cool. Getting the band back together.
Yes. Yeah. Mission from God type of stuff.
So is that the I don't want to say the pinnacle, but the book you look back to that's probably your biggest or your favorite?
Yes, on all levels. I mean, there's entire series that have been disasters, and you try to forget for one reason, politics usually, shitty people you have to work with, I don't have to worry about that when I do my own book. Thus, why I always lean that way. However, my heart, one, is always in creator own, and then two, Wild Blue is the book that it just felt like everything came together for me as a storyteller. Mm-hmm. Mike Rach and I, who had done some X-Men crap way back in the day, barely just like a short story or something. By the time we got to this point, we were working so well together as far as story creation and being able to set our egos aside and just objectively build this fantastic universe. And I think we both realized how well we mesh. The puzzle pieces fit flawlessly. And by then, Nelson Daniel and I had finished the Cape miniseries and Godzilla covers, to your point, and Judge Dredd. So as artists, we were almost becoming one as well. our work is so much different than we are as individuals. Then when we come together, we just suddenly created this world that felt like it had weight and been lived in. And we just, by the end of it, we just felt, hell, we joked that we could probably go on tour just doing explosion instructionals, to artists.
Yeah.
Because we just, everything seemed to be firing on all cylinders. So, you got for whatever reason, right away, this before the first issue was even done, there was a lot of attention on this IP, and I learned how to produce a good story and be able to keep the wagon on the rails whilst chaos is happening and politics and things like that. Every step of the way was a learning process. So I'm proud I did it. I'm proud of the work. You fall in love with the characters of books like this, as opposed to drawing Prince of Power or some shit like that. So, you get a different feeling than ghosting She-Hulk annuals, So, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it doesn't quite satisfy the soul.
Now, you say that your heart's in creator-owned, and I can understand why, but when you were with either the big two, was there any projects there, characters there that you were really excited or proud to be a part of?
I had fun, like when I was doing the kind of Bruce Timm-esque covers for DC, doing the Justice League Unlimited run for a year. I learned a lot as far as producing the fours and Ys and of a cover for such a popular title. It was for all ages, and they're pushing the hell out of that animated stuff back then. Yep. And so I have nostalgia more just for learning on the job and able to change my style and adapt to like learning why does Bruce Timm why is he so successful? What makes him work? And then trying to apply that to covers rather than just copying something he had done before. So I enjoyed the learning process at DC for a lot of things, but none of the characters really resonated with me. Drawing Aquaman swimming just does not do anything for me.
You can't really relate to a cape, huh?
Yeah, it just doesn't do. Even Batman at this point, I became so disillusioned. Anytime I got offered something Batman, it just feels like retreading a tire. And right. I swear there's no judgment in that statement. If that brings you joy, I'm actually envious if you can do that. And occasionally there's going to be some golden nuggets that come out of that, especially with something like Batman over the years. But I would rather do something like Wild Blue Yonder 10 more times in my career than one good Batman story. That was on. I'd be proud of the Batman. It isn't what I'm looking for. And I believe I went on far too long of a tangent for what you asked me. I can circle back if you need, sir.
No problem. So, I mean, escaping the big two, you then gone to
Marvel. Sorry, let me just interject real quick. Marvel characters were always more important to me growing up. So they just were always more fun to me. So like when I was drawing Spider-Man and things like that, I didn't do a ton of Spider-Man, but that Spider-Man was always the property that it felt like that kid. You hear that kid in you, kind of coming out and echoing again. That was the character that always seemed to just kind of do it for me. I wanted that for the Hulk. I just wasn't very thrilled with the Hulk book it was just kind of a okay book. I'm not trying to piss on anyone. So I'd say the Hulk is the only thing I would like to do again. That just one good, like 100-pager, just, you feel it, your teeth hurt by the end of it. It just was so intense. That type of Hulk story. Not him going to court or something like that, which my luck in my fucking career. I got Nightwing laying in bed in his underwear with Alfred yelling at him, Thanks. That art's going to sell.
So, I mean, that might sell the mic, but
yeah, I mean, it's
somebody needs to get Al Ewing on the horn because we need to get Zach into Immortal Hulk.
Yeah.
So, but besides that, I'm just doing my own things. My fans have been waiting for like 15 years for me to really get some commissions going. So I got about a backlog already of, a year of commissions. I can't announce. I'm only doing covers for like my friends, but people are gonna shit bricks when they hear what I'm doing covers for. But we'll circle back. I'll announce that when I'm allowed to. But I just signed on to that this week, and that'll be my only freelance gig that I do, are like covers for people, like my buddies like Chris Ryle and Joe Hill, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then the occasional helping out a Kickstarter or something.
Now, really quick.
I'll tell you off air, but I can't tell you on air what's going on.
All right.
I can see.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm getting.
I didn't mean to tease you. Apologies.
I do want to circle back because I mean we got so much to talk about, and I don't think we'll get to all of it today. But I'm a huge Joe Hill fan.
Yeah.
I know a lot of our listeners are. Yeah. So can you just talk about that relationship you have with him and how it is to work with him on a couple books there?
Well, first off, Joe's a rare man. He obviously the son of Stephen King, so you're not, after being a little jaded in comics for a couple decades, you're not expecting people to be good people, if that makes sense, when they reach certain levels. Right. For multiple reasons. Many is just insulation, because they'll get chewed to death if they don't insulate themselves. Mm-hmm. But in a lot of that comes pissing off fans and coming off brusque and things like that. So what Joe Hill taught me when I was signing for the Cape, right next to him, he literally had a line of 300 people. And every single one of those people left that table to smile on their face and felt like the most they had a connection with Joe.
Right. That's awesome.
That's the greatest lesson I ever learned in comic books, as far as just social awareness of both your fans and your representation of yourself being your work, or your work being yourself, however the analogy goes. So he just had patience for everyone, and he just made them feel nice. He'd doodle in their little book right next to his name, or take a picture with them, or if they came up with a crown on their head or whatever cosplay thing, he'd put it on his head and take a picture with them.
Yeah, that's cool.
He just made them feel special. And there's ultimately, if our goal is to have our voice be heard, I think the more intimate connection you can make with a fan, an authentic connection you can make with a fan, the less interference between your message in your head and getting it in the other person's head. There's going to be less interference between that transmission, I guess, of thought.
And what's it like working with him as a writer? I mean, it's got to be different working with all these other writers as well, and how they depict. I don't know how much direction they give you for art and stuff like that, but it seems like
Joe gives me none.
Okay,
Joe. Yeah. I mean, he has a writing partner who scripted the Cape, and those two work more intimately as far as plotting it out and stuff. Yeah. And then once Jason writes the script and Joe, they're all happy with that. And you'll have to talk to them before. I think they ping pong back a lot, so I'm not 100% certain like who's always typing. But Jason deservedly gets the scripting credit for the Cape, absolutely. And a lot of the classic ideas of the character are Jason's anyways. So I do get sad that he gets thrown under, just ran over the Joe Hill train, people trying to get to Joe Hill sometimes. Right. Because the guys really worked hard and did well. Now, that being said, they work together pretty closely. And then they send me a script, and Joe basically gives me carte blanche for interpreting it. So cool. From what you see in the script, I'll add, subtract panels constantly. But that's also what I do. When I was doing Hellboy, it was awkward the first time, but you change a panel or two of Mike Mignola's script, Yeah, it's a little odd at first, but that's what I had to tell myself. That's my fucking job.
Yeah, right.
I'm the one drawing it.
Yep.
So, and I'm not a fool. I'm not, so people hire me for a reason. Whether you like my work or not, I do have a certain skill set I can provide, and that involves sequential storytelling. Holy shit, I can't talk. I had like spit in my mouth, like I was drooling. So not used to talking this much, guys. So you woke the dragon. So
I just what I'm getting at in all that is, I mean, he's got a good thing going with Hill House over at DC.
Yeah.
Is there any room for maybe you to jump in on some of that?
He wanted me to do like the first go, but I was there was a lot going on during the making of the second Cape. Chris Ryle left IDW, and there was a lot of madness during that production, and I didn't even have an editor I edited half that damn book. Wow. Well, again, it's not that hard. Jason and Joe give me a script. All I have to do is, my job is making comic books. I don't really need an editor in that way. Usually, if I'm a hired hand by another book, whatever, I shut my mouth when I'm working on Hellboy. Whatever they say goes. But you didn't need it at IDW. Anyways, working with Joe's easy. I don't directly. I've worked on like spot images for his novels and things like that. It's just easy. He just makes everything easy. He's always joking. He always seems to be in a good mood, whether you have supper with him, you're on the phone, if you're email, whatever. He's just a good dude. It's hard. It's really easy and kitschy to talk about other talent in entertainment industries of just being awesome, and it was so special working with him and blah, blah, blah. Joe is rare among greatness. He's great amongst great talent, if that makes sense, in all assets. For whatever reason, everything came together. He can shake hands with his parents because they did a damn good job.
And I mean, I think your art style would fit really well with something over at Hill House as well. All that dark and stormy storytelling going on, and I think
I see us doing something together at some point like that.
That'd be really cool.
The stars couldn't align for a bit there. Yep. I had the Cape Madness, exiting my entertainment company, starting a little side business that has nothing to do with comics. It's just a lot of crap. And then Hellboy hit, and I knew I was going to end my freelance career, for all intents and purposes. So I chose Hellboy when the offer came along. Just I thought that was a good end cap since it was my first comic too.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about Hellboy now. I mean, we got the first issue out of the return of F.E. Kolb.
Mm-hmm.
And we can still expect a second issue coming out, correct?
Yeah, it's done. I think it's probably done being colored. I suspect it's off to the printers. Probably not yet. I haven't gotten a PDF. So I'd say any day now we'll be getting the final look at it, and whatever. I don't know how things are being. Dark Horse is doing distribution or anything like that right now. So I'm sure they're working hard on it. But if Diamond fires back up, you'll be getting it soon. If they don't, I'm sure there'll be another way you're getting it.
Yeah. That's been changing from week to week. So I mean that the first issue was pretty well received, right? And
it did surprisingly well. I was very happy. And the second issue, I can honestly say, is 5 times what issue 1 was. Mike, very honored to be part of this story. Mike wrote a gem.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I was honored, man. It felt like old Hellboy. Like, not that there's anything wrong with the journey Hellboy went on, but the stuff that makes the marrow of my bones sizzle is like the Wolves of St. Augustine type era.
Yep.
Just everything was crack-a-lacking on it, and it was like this portal into this world you'd never seen, and it was fun every time. And that's kind of what this story felt like to me. And he sets up a whole new storyline for some new characters. So that I got to design. That's pretty cool, right?
That's really cool. Yeah. To be part of that universe and like designing characters, I mean, that's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he trusted me with everything except one monster. He wanted to draw himself. I guess he had a vision in his head, and it's a hell of a vision. Just awesome. Wait.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for issue 2.
That's been really cool recently too, seeing a lot of these guys who created iconic characters like Hellboy, Spawn, and in the early '90s, and now they're all coming back and reinvigorated and wanting to do them again and bringing new talent on. It's been really cool to watch those characters kind of just get new juice flown and flooded into them by their original creators. So when with like Mike Mignola being a guy who's basically a legend, I mean, what's the back and forth there like? I mean, you said earlier that he lets you kind of do what you want to do, but how close is he to the project?
Let's backtrack on Hellboy. He doesn't. Yeah. Joe lets me do what I want to do.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do. When Mike says shit, I say how high. Okay, that's my job. I'm pretty proud of myself and all, but you're talking. Know who everybody's favorite artist is? Pros, Mike Mignola. It's just Mike Mignola is, as I said, Joe Hill's great among great talent. Mike Mignola's the creator. He's just in another dimension above everyone else. It's above. It's not even a level you can compete with. It's just something different. He's from Dimension X. There's a reason he's a genius. It just watches his work. So you have to learn your place in each job. And my place there was to make Mike's script shine, to make Hellboy look as good as it could, not make Hellboy look like Zach Howard's Hellboy. So, it's still my art, but my job is to be a portal for his story. I'm like a director of a movie. My stink is on it, but I'm still telling the story. Yeah. And it's the story that's most important. So, especially when it comes from, just he's truly one that stands alone as far as talent goes. And hopefully he doesn't hear this and, hear me gush like this, but
keep it away from
him. Rightfully so. He's just the rarest of rare. I honestly believe he's the greatest comic book creator in my lifetime. There's a place on Mount Rushmore for him, I think, in the annals of comic book history, I would say, because he just brought something that nobody else had, and then just threw jet fuel on it. In a way, basically he created the new Batman as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be around forever and enjoyed by generations. Yep. And anyhow, as far as Mignola working with him goes, I get the scripts. They're kind of, the scripts kind of just play like music. They ebb and flow. Sometimes they're really detailed, and other times it's just like, Zach, do what you want. And okay, so and then every once in a while, because again, I visually have a different language than Mike. There's like 2 or 3 spots where I felt that I had to add a panel or something like that just to be able to show people properly what's happening in a scene, and that's one problem I believe in our industry. Our visual storytelling proficiency is so low overall. We're really good illustrators. We're really shitty storytellers lots of times. So we're just kind of, if you'll notice, nobody's teaching people how to storytell anymore. We're just learning from other people and their coolest shots they do. So people are learning from pinups and really cool face shots and things like that. And that's not what sequential storytelling is.
Interesting.
That's a tool. That's just one tool in a toolbox. If you're only using one tool, your house is going to look pretty shitty. Yeah. If you're building a house, you need a lot of tools. So all you see is people breaking. You can break the fourth wall. There are reasons, but every character staring at the viewer, just talking to them. Every goddamn panel. There's no background. It's just the close-up shot of faces, or the shitheads assembled, and they're all looking grim, and it's just a series of headshots, and it's no story.
Right.
Right. And it's just and that's one of the reasons I can't do that. And it's not the skill level of the artist. It's the storytelling level of the whole system, because we're making fast food as fast as possible. Right. and sometimes it's tasty and it's presented well, but there is not a lot of nutrition in there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that.
And if people are only used to that, they start rejecting well-made meals. They just want the bacon double cheeseburger.
They just, yeah.
So when Barry Windsor comes along with a Led Zeppelin song in visual form, they're like, fuck you, I want more bacon double cheeseburger. You know? And
love it.
And you have, it's just decade after decade of that, and a million other things happening with life and art and our industry, or weird, beautiful and dysfunctional industry. Storytelling is just very low right now. I think it's one of the lowest it's ever been in our it's one of the most exciting times for, as an individual creator, what you can do and disseminate your work. Oh my God, you have a portal to the universe just right there at your house. It's amazing. You can skip all middlemen. But there's also room for those middlemen, because some people like that tactile print comic book. So we need to figure out how the hell we move forward as a medium. It should be able to be disseminated from turning on your Xbox to looking on your computer, your phone, to actually having a hard copy in your hand. However we figure that out, I think, however we figure that out, if we can, that would be beautiful. Because then we can expand in all directions, or maintain in ones that aren't growth heavy, i.e. print medium.
Oh, well said.
So, but that being said, going back to storytelling, I don't even know where I was. Headshots. I'm just so tired of shitty storytelling.
Well, I mean, you're involved with helping young artists as well, right? I mean, are you involved?
I try to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more of an individual basis than, like, say, a class now. Okay. My classes are usually charity based, like the prison program, where we do an anthology, and we got another anthology coming up for animal pet adoption. That we're just in the beginning stages putting a board together for. But so that's mostly my educational stuff that I do. With Brink Literacy is who I usually partner with that. And I help their teachers learn storytelling as well. But that being said, I've helped a lot of young artists. I don't, whatever I have to offer, I try to help young people that are serious. I want to see you grind, because that's the only way you're making it. My job isn't to motivate you. You got to motivate yourself. But I'll absolutely, if you're willing to help yourself, I'll help you literally every day if you're willing to help yourself. I didn't have a lot of help getting in the industry. I had a few bumps and bruises, and not even enough money for ramen. I remember in San Diego stealing breadsticks off fucking tables at restaurants to eat.
Wow.
There are those days. So, I just want to see, I don't want to see people fucking, you got to struggle some, but I don't want life to be the struggle, and lack of ability to be noticed, I guess, just being lost in the churn of the ocean of everything. It sucks being by yourself. No one believes in you, man. When you start this journey, no one believes in you, or if they do, it's just your dumb friend that doesn't know anything, just being cool to you, So you got to learn how to, 1, be alone, and then 2, know what you want, and then 3, you got to be brave enough to fucking start and then get going like a train. Really takes a lot of energy getting going, but if you can get up to speed, it kind of moves itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just nobody likes burning that extra effort. It's going to take 10 years of just sucking. Just eat shit sandwiches. It just is.
So that's an amazing place to put a pin on everything. But I do want one more question.
Sure, sir. We can always do a series of these if I'm not.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'd love to have you back, because this is opening up so many more ideas for me to talk about. I mean, this is
next time we'll set up to where I'm drawing or something like that.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
So the final question before we end this all.
Yes, sir.
You are a giant Norwegian man. Who wins in a fight, you or Greg Capullo?
Oh, God, he lifts a lot of weights. I don't know. I'm old. My joints hurt, man. Greg would probably chip my teeth. I don't know.
He does have the MMA experience.
Well, see, I did MMA for a long time, but
all right.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll just say Greg because I don't know him, and I'd rather default to I've fought enough in my life, man. I got fucked up hands, bad memories that stayed with me for 3 decades. So I will let Greg just knock me out quick, and then just have me wake up the next day for the con. I'm cool, man. My ego's I've had my ass beat before. I don't care. So there you go. There's the answer. Greg, you can beat my ass. I'll let him just immediately. I'll just give my neck up so he chokes me out nice and kind, and then we can keep my teeth intact. So,
Zach, thanks so much, man.
I rubbed shoulders with him before, but he's always being hounded. So I've never really had any real conversations with him. Guy seems nice. Like you say, he likes putting the iron up. So he seems like a disciplined guy and obviously talented as all hell. So
and just like you, though, he's still out there promoting the creative method of being an artist. And he talks about I was at a session with him over in Schenectady because that's where he's from, New York. And he talked about how he would just sit downtown and draw people all day just to get good at drawing. Like, he put in the hours, and
that's the best thing to do.
Like, when hearing you talk about, just getting into the experience of it, and you gotta do the work to get there.
That's the only thing. Young artists, the journey is where you become the fucking artist. There is no elevator.
Right.
It's one foot in front of the other. You grind. And you know what? Sometimes it's easier than other people. And sometimes you think it's just easy for other people and hard for you. Fuck, I broke in with Sean Murphy. He used to live in my basement. Wow. That dude's a prodigal level talent artist.
Oh, yeah.
And Sean here I am, a fucking potter trying to keep up with him, and he's inking me at Vertigo, okay?
Yeah.
So you gotta, we're all gonna have different attributes, different starting points. You gotta play the fucking cards you have.
Yep.
You got to play the cards you have. I don't care if you have 4 cards. You still got to figure out a fucking way to win the hand. Mm-hmm. So you just do. It's life. Nobody cares because they got their own shitty life they're worried about. And, most of them are placating their egos for not taking a chance on themselves. So you don't even speak the same fucking language as that person. So quit trying to identify with them. Find what you want and go do it. Alan Watts, the money will come, but just Bukowski. That's why I like him. Go all the way. If you're gonna try, go all the way. Don't take one step in, one step out, and that's what most people do. They skirt around, do a commission, and da. Well, you may not have healthcare. Do you want to be an artist, professional artist, or do you just like the idea of being an artist? Because it's scary as shit being a professional artist. Scary as shit all the time. That's why I see people go into safety little things where they feel safe because they're tired of that anxiety. It sucks. And it always sucks. I just befriended Duncan Forgretto while I was doing Hellboy. Master artist since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Master. Yep. And he's telling me some insecurities he has about doing Hellboy and stuff. And it just, it never ends, the insecurity. Yeah. So you better be doing what you want to do and believe in what you want to do and not just be lying to yourself. And that's the problem most people have anyways, right?
I mean,
so
this became such like a motivational episode too now.
Sorry.
It's it's awesome. We went from I wanted to talk about all these projects, we got to do that, and then we got into all this get your ass out there, draw, come on, let's go.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
I'm just motivated to play the banjo. Yeah. Go kick everyone's ass at the banjo. Go find the Jimi Hendrix of the banjo. Figure out why he's better than you. Come back 10 years later like a wizard and just fucking slay everyone with your magic.
I want that to be the next comic book. Oh my god.
Wizard Slayer?
Banjo Slayer. I don't know.
Banjo Slayer.
Banjo
Slayer. Banjo Wizard.
Banjo Wizard. Yeah, that's it.
Oh
shit.
Oh man.
So,
all right, Zach, we got to talk later about Banjo Wizard.
Banjo Wizard, here we go. It's going to save us all from ourselves.
Zach, man, thanks so much for doing the show. This is awesome. We'd love to have you back.
You guys have a good conversation. or you guys do a good conversation. Thank you.
Yeah.
So where's the best place for everybody to go to keep up with everything Zach Howard?
Most current, I left Twitter because it kind of triggers my OCD a little bit.
Yeah.
There's so much information coming in. You know, I suddenly have an opinion about politics, which I couldn't give a fuck about. You know, what the hell is that?
Right.
You know,
I know.
So fuck Twitter.
I know.
I had to get away from Twitter.
Yep.
So Facebook, if you want to see like high res, like 15-year history of my artwork, DeviantArt, you can find me on. I'm on so Facebook, Instagram, DeviantArt. That's what I'm on. But Facebook, I'm probably biggest on for some reason. Maybe I'm a Russian troll. I don't fucking know. So
that's for a different type of podcast.
Yes.
The Russian troll interviews happen on another podcast.
Okay. I don't know the politics. I think I know what you're talking about. But we'll keep it nice and kosher and fun and happy.
Yeah, we're back.
Awesome. So, yeah, check out the next issue of Hellboy when it's coming out. Please follow Zach Howard, all the awesome things he's doing. We're going to have him back on the show. We talked for almost 2 hours. A lot of the stuff unrecorded that only, Chris and I can talk about with him because we're not special. I was trying to hint that we're special. We're not special. I'm just kidding. We just talk about comics way too much.
I'm special. My mom told me so.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe Chris is special. I'm not. No. But what also is special is the comic book industry, and we want to talk a little bit about the comic book news, I guess. I'm very excited every week that we are still getting comic book news. So that's a good sign, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jimmy Palmiotti and Juan Santa Cruz launched a new Kickstarter for a 4-issue series called Pop Kill. The story revolves around a cola industry battle of Pepsi versus Coke from an espionage view. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last week with Jimmy Palmiotti, and I'm usually not a fan of him. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really float my boat, but like, come on, I have to get this comic, right?
Yeah, right. You do. I mean, come on. It's
a spy book about soda industry.
Yep, and it's a comic book. Like that's the 3 things Chris lives and breathes.
That's the 3 things that make Chris. So I put in my money. It's already funded, so go check it out.
That plus Chemical X, you could create your own Chris in a blender.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. Mike Perkins, the artist of the recent Lois Lane series, signed a 3-year extension with a DC exclusive contract. So that's pretty cool, keeping him along.
Yeah.
He's doing some good art for DC right now. AWA announces that they have signed on with Diamond Comics Distributors as their exclusive distributor, which doesn't mean a whole lot right now, but yep, there's
because I think those contracts are just like worth as much as the paper they're printed on.
Right. Yeah, especially
because I'm pretty sure DC has an exclusive deal with them.
I was gonna say DC has one of those. I don't know what the hell's going on with them.
But AWA is doing cool stuff, so shout out to them for being cool.
Yeah. Marvel announces when they'll return to print comics. May 27th will be the next day we can expect a new Marvel comic in a local comic shop. So we got a date set, May 27th, comic books in the shops. Whether or not the shops will open on that day, that's a little, I don't know. That's still up in the air, but we got a little...
Most I've heard from a lot of shops around that even if they're not opening up, they're going to be doing like mail orders. So talk to email your local comic shop, see what's up. Maybe they're doing mail order just to keep business running.
Yep,
you never know.
And I mean, Star Wars Day, May 4th, is today, this Monday. Marvel is joining the celebration by releasing the new Dr. Aphra #1 to purchase. The print will be released on May 27th. So that's pretty cool. Releasing it digitally first to kind of celebrate Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, it was supposed to be out a month ago, so
right.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? It's already delayed enough, right? So,
and you probably win because people like me will buy it twice.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, let's just jump into what we've been reading. I've been doing quite a bit here. I'm on like halfway through the second trade of the Children Vampire Hunting Brigade by I talked about the purchase of this last week. David Lucarelli, who was on the show. I'm on the second out of 3 trades. Really cool. When he said it was like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it kind of is. It's like, you know, a group of teens, and they've somehow managed to get themselves involved with the ancient vampire hunting that's been going on throughout the world, and it kind of with that, and you know, they find out more and more about like how long this has been going on for, the backstory of like certain characters, and you know, there's one guy that's been guarding the cemetery, and they find out like when he dies that he's only the western quadrant, and there's like, you know, there's someone guarding the north and the south, and it's pretty cool. There's a lot of like lore there, so it's a really good book. Also, Dark Ark Volume 1 started that by our pretty reoccurring guest Cullen Bunn, that I know Chris is reading. Really like it so far. I think I'm on issue. I got the trade, but I think I'm on issue 3. So it's pretty interesting to see the take on like what all the monsters are thinking about. You know, like, are they really being saved? What kind of Earth are they going to be left with when they are saved? And it's interesting to see like the arguments between like vampires and then the unicorn is just kind of chilling there, like not getting involved with any of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a really cool book. And that was it for me. Oh, and then I read Wild Blue Yonder issues 1 and 2 out of 6, because we did have the guest on the show today. But yeah, that book is amazing. I actually did start reading it when it came out. I had the first issue, but now I'm getting back into it. I kind of just slipped through my pull list in 2015. So really good story. It's a post-apocalyptic world that's been nuked, and you know, nobody can stay on the ground. The Earth has been completely nuclearized, and the ground is toxic, so they have to stay in planes. And with that, creates all these factions and evil people that are controlling the skies, and the type of world that comes out of that. Really great. Yeah, so check it out. And I mean, it was nominated for a lot of awards as well. We talk about in the interview. So yeah, that's what I was reading this week.
Yeah, and I also read Wild Blue Yonder, and I can't remember if we talked about it during the interview or after the interview, because like we said, we talked to him for like 2 hours. But he talks a lot. He talked to us about creating a world that feels lived in, and really flowing the story through the art. And I thought one out of the many things that's done really well is right on issue 1 from like page 2. You know this world, you know what's going on, and you're invested in the people there. And it's so rare in a comic or any medium for that to be so hooked into the world and understand it so quickly. And I thought it really succeeded at that. And it was a cool story. Something I honestly never probably would have checked out if it wasn't for our situation, but I'm glad I did, because it's a different book, and I really enjoyed it. So take a chance on it, everybody. It's free on Comixology. And Comixology Unlimited, that is. And I think it's really good. I finished Cosmic Odyssey from Jim Starlin and Mike Mignola, and I really enjoyed it. It does kind of end in a strange way, but there's so many great moments. Like, I think Starlin, I really want to read his Batman run next, because I think he really gets Batman. And he has this moment where Batman talks to somebody and says, like, I need you to keep an eye on Darkseid, because something's going on that he's not telling us, and he has a plan here. And he does that, and this guy's kind of in the background. You don't know who he is for most of the series. During all this, like, Darkseid's trying to get Etrigan and Jason Blood back together so that he can open up a portal to this other dimension where the anti-life matter exists. And he goes behind everyone's back to do it and capture the anti-life matter or equation. And we find out that the person he had talked to is Dr. Fate. And he did that because he knew who Jason Blood was, and was like, I understand what's going on here, because at this point in DC history, Jason Blood is no longer a part of Etrigan. They're separate entities. and uses Dr. Fate's magic to go after him. There's really cool New God stuff in here. There's awesome Batman moments in here. And I really enjoyed the teams. I really enjoyed where Jon Stewart was in DC lore at this point. Like, he's no longer a formal Green Lantern, but he's kind of on the outskirts. I really enjoyed the book altogether. I think it's a lot of fun. Not Starlin's best work, but I still just really, really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Aquaman Sea Devils #1, one of the daily comics from DC, and I really like this one too because it's Aquaman finds a toxic waste dump in the ocean and realizes that something's going on, and then he runs into the Sea Devils, who are like an eco-terrorist group, but they're good guys, and it's all about like these people who are dumping toxic waste and then into the ocean. And then a giant fish comes out and attacks everybody, and so on and so forth. It's a very straightforward Aquaman story about environmentalism, but it was a lot of fun, and I liked how it ended. It ended with the Sea Devils coming on with Aquaman as a part of Atlantis to kind of be their ambassadors into the surface world. So I thought that was a really good book. And then a little indie book I found called Victory #1. And I'm still not 100% sure, but there's this portal where like monsters and demons are coming out of, and people have to sit on, it's almost like Game of Thrones, you have to sit on the wall and watch them and shoot them as they come closer. And this one that's kind of like all powerful ends up coming out, and it's a skeleton that can consume meat to create a shield on itself. And it's, they end up attacking. There's some mystical stuff going on. We end up finding out that there's more to this world than meets the eye. But I thought the art was really cool in this book. Some of the dialogue's wonky, but it works. I believe this was a 99-cent like indie book, so go check it out. I did enjoy it, and I look forward to reading more of it. But yeah, that was everything I read this week, Mike. Where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me at Fortress Ricker on the Twitter. Where can they find you under the show?
Well, they can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter. They can find the show at fortresscomicnews.com. And you can also find me at chrisrunt.com. That's CHRASRUNDT.com. To everyone out there that pledged to the Kickstarter, Mike, you included, thank you. It's been an amazing weekend. Can't wait to get my coloring back so I can share it all with you. And I'm just really appreciative of everybody that gave me some cash to make that real. So thank you all. If you're listening to us, make sure to give us a 5-star review. If you're watching us, make sure to like, subscribe, share on the YouTube. And we will see you all next week.